Hey everyone, my name is Chad and I am the lead pastor at the Journey Church, located in Springfield, Virginia, about 12 miles outside of Washington, D.C., and also on the board for Waypoint Church Partners. Hey, thanks for taking the time to check this out today. One of the things Milligan College did not teach us when I was there was how to lead during a pandemic. That would have been nice. Our learning curve has been huge. Now we have a new question we're asking. How do we safely regather as a church in the near future? As most states slowly open back up with limitations, churches are getting the go-ahead to meet again. It seems like people in our churches are ready to jump back into being together as soon as possible. Or are they? This past week, we sent out a survey to our church to gauge where people are when it comes to the question of regathering as a church body on Sunday mornings. The purpose of the survey was to get us a pulse on where they are in terms of the potential of us regathering. The survey consisted of 14 questions, but for the purposes of our time and title, we'll stick to 10. These were questions we felt needed to be answered as we began to think about what meeting together in person would possibly look like. Over 150 people have responded to the survey so far. Now, to put this in context for you, our county has been the hardest hit in Virginia. Granted, we're also the largest county, so it makes sense. More people, more positive tests. So the responses from our area may be different than what you may hear from where you live. So let me share with you the questions we asked our church and give you some insights into those responses. We not only were able to gauge where our church is at this time, but we also were able to grab some data points that help us understand who our church is and opportunities we see for our future. So here we go. Our first question was really important. When we regather on Sundays, will you show up? What we found, as you can see, our church is about 50-50 in returning early on. About what we had expected. Another question we asked was, what markers from our community should guide us into when we should meet again in person? Our number one finding was people wanted to see a steady decrease in cases, with over 50% saying they would need stay-at-home restrictions and social distancing guidelines lifted before they would even show up. So would you come if you had to wear a mask? 65% said they would come even if they had to wear a mask, which again was surprising to us. The next question was about taking temperatures. How would you feel if we had to take your temperature before you came into the door? Now, let me say personally, I would not want to open our doors again on a Sunday if we had to take temperatures as people walked in. But in our survey, 77% said they would show up even if state and local governments required it. Another surprise for us. So would you attend a different service time than you normally do if we added more services to accommodate smaller groups of people in our building at one time? 91% were ready to make that move. I love that result because it meant our church was ready to do whatever it could to make room for others. We asked what precautions should be our top priorities for our worship gatherings. The responses were what we expected and the same guidelines being put out by the CDC and others. Limit places that multiple people touch. Set up specific walking patterns inside the building. Keep doors open. Limit gathering size. Now, one of our big questions, and it should be yours too, had to deal with our kids program. In the time of BC, before Corona, we had a lot of kids running around our building on Sunday mornings. Now, would parents feel safe putting their kids into their normal class settings? What we found was over 54% said they would be hesitant without establishing good procedures to protect their kids. Only 6% said they would gladly put their kids into a classroom from the start. One insight from this question I did not expect, but was very helpful, was that 40% of our church marked that question did not apply to them. We had also asked what generation people in our church were a part of, and almost 75% are either Gen X or millennials. Our church is young, but I make assumptions about who attends. Knowing so many did not have kids means when speaking, I have to be careful about talking as if everyone in our church is a parent, because that can be my default mode. So that was a big help for me in building weekly messages. Another question we asked was, when we do receive clearance to meet in public settings, what would be that preferred method of meeting for our church? 40% said meet in a small setting, while 40% said we should stay online for a time. I would say people are letting us know we aren't in a hurry to get back together in a large setting yet. This did lead us to ask how effective our online services were at this time, which we got plenty of positive feedback about. From our survey, we also saw opportunities. We asked people to let us know if they would return to their volunteer position when we met in person again. I mean, it would be great to meet again, but if no one wants to volunteer, we might have some problems. What we found was that half of the respondents said they would return to volunteer. It might not be the first week, but they would jump back in. But here's the opportunity we found. 30% of our respondents said they did not volunteer anywhere. Through our survey, we were able to capture the names and email addresses of each person who filled out the survey. Now we can go back and find out who's not serving. We believe we have a whole new group to talk to about volunteering moving forward. Our other big question, number 10 today, was to see how we can help the people in our church right now. From speaking to a pastor, to online groups, to counseling, to care packages. We wanted to be sure we offered help, and it has been great to see people reach out to us so we can support them in these uncertain times. There were other tidbits of data we received that is helpful now and will be in the future. It was great getting so much good feedback from so many people. So how do we make the survey? We used Google Forms for capturing this information. It's very simple and very free, and unlike our database, gave us some pretty graphics, as you saw. We made the survey and then sent it out via church-wide email. Now, there may be other questions you would want to ask, but these were perfect for us to get as much information as possible from our church. In the end, we aren't using the survey to make any decisions about regathering. We wanted to make sure we had a baseline to see what our people are thinking in terms of getting back together. For us, in our context, and based on the current situation in our county, we know we're probably still a couple of months away from meeting again in a larger setting. We had been planning that to be the case before the survey, and after seeing these results, we know our planning coincides with what most in our church are already feeling. Our plan is to send out another survey in 4 weeks to get a new perspective on where people are at that time. Our hope is attitudes are changing, less people are getting sick, and we are heading to a more normal existence all around. Like you, we love meeting in person with our church family, but we also recognize there's still fear, anxiety, and uncertainty for many people. We desire to be wise in our decision-making process, and this survey has given us confidence we're moving in the right direction. If you have any questions or would like more details about our survey, you can contact Jamie at office@thejourneynova.org. We would love to give you more insights if needed. Thanks for your time. We're praying for you as you make decisions in regathering.